So then I'm going to ask you three questions. What do you see as like the number one thing agents miss that keep their business from growing? And then in
Okay.
contrast, what do you think are the differentiators for those who do succeed? How does Inside Real Estate CRM systems fit into an agent's business growth and planning? Will
Okay.
you please share 3 or 4 core areas of focus for 2025 that all agents need? All right, so welcome to our Million Dollar Agent podcast. As a reminder, I'm Kim Barber, and I'm excited today that we have Jack Markham here with us for our third edition to our podcast. Jack is a really great guy. He has over 2 decades of sales and business leadership experience in the real estate industry. So if you're an agent or just in sales, this is definitely going to be something that you're going to want to stay to the end on. Jack is an executive vice president of strategic growth for Inside Real Estate, which a lot of us know from the products that they have, whether it's kvCORE or they're migrating that to Bold Trail or Boomtown. These are some of their core products. So he's an executive vice president of strategic growth for that company. They provide like innovative solutions across all levels of real estate organization. And in his role, he leads the development and launch of new product lines, such as the industry-leading kvCORE platform, which we all know that I'm deeply in tune with, and their core home consumer experience, driving home growth opportunities for both Inside Real Estate and their clients, which is us as a real estate agent. Jack has a proven track record of achieving exceptional revenue results, developing strategic go-to marketing plans, and building successful execution teams. His background is in online marketing, new product development, and real estate industry expertise that he has allows him to identify and penetrate like new marketings and create high impact sales and marketing programs. So really translate well even into our real estate of whether it's a big company or a small entrepreneur company, how you can go in. And I'm excited to hear him talk about how to create those sales and marketing programs. Additionally, Jack is a member of the Forbes Real Estate Council and has received recognition, including the 2015 Housing Wire Rising Star Award and the 2019 Real Estate Newsmaker Award Trailblazer. His mission is to leverage his skills and experience to deliver value and innovation to the real estate industry. So I'm very excited to have you here. I know we have a lot of real estate agents of various types that listen in, as well as a lot of leadership. So I'd love for you to kick us off, Jack, with maybe telling a little bit about yourself besides what I've already done. And I'm
Yeah.
sure our listeners want to know, like, what is this extra degree in the
Yeah.
2012 and everything? So you take it.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, I've been in this space a while. I think, I've been in sales a lot longer. My whole career has been sales. And I think, you know, going on 20 years, I hate to say that, it kind of dates myself. It makes me feel old, but I cut my teeth in
Amen.
this business. Cut my teeth in this business for a company called Market Leader, which I think, if you've been around, you're very familiar with Market Leader. One of the first really technology-driven companies, was purchased by Trulia and then by Zillow and then spun away into now it's a consolation company. But really started in the space then, and I remember Market Leader threw me on stage at a Ben Kinney event and said, "Hey, we
Okay.
need you to speak." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I bombed. It was horrible because I didn't understand the industry. And so I said, if I'm ever going to speak again, then I need to understand the industry. And so what I ended up doing is just talking to a lot of our clients and getting what's working, what's not working, and then taking my sales knowledge and saying, wow, at the end of the day, real estate is very similar to the teams that I've built in sales. And so I really know how to do this already and kind of started to mesh that together. And then, before you know it, I, kind of created a $1 million pipeline, which was a very successful coaching product underneath Market Leader. And that kind of exploded my career into speaking at all the events and really being able to impact agents and brokers as they go and scale their business. That's a little bit of my background. The 212, this extra degree, I think I've been preaching this. It's a book that actually one of my agent clients gave me about 15 years ago. It's called 212, the extra degree. It's a very short read, but the book kind of, I just, the analogy alone, I was able to wrap my head around it, kind of go full in. And then I started talking a lot to my sales teams and to my teams that I've been managing for the last 15 years. And no different at Inside Real Estate. My team is quite large all over the country and all remote. And so I bring them together with this concept of 212. So those of you that don't know it or haven't heard of it, At 211 degrees, water's hot. At 212 degrees, water boils. Boiling water creates steam. Steam can power a locomotive or a train. And so really the concept is that extra degree. And for a lot of people, they think that, well, so you're saying I have to work more or work harder. Not necessarily, right? It's about what extra degree can you take? And so like for the real estate agents, right, I look at this as lead generation, or maybe it's lead engagement, or maybe it's more referrals, or maybe it's my contact database. Instead of saying, wow, I really have to do more with my contact database in 2025. But instead of saying, well, I got to do all this, and so I have to leave some of this behind, what's one degree each day, each week, each month that you can do different that you did in 2024 to bring that improvement, right? And so it's thinking about those things. I kind of have it broken down in traits. I think it's leadership. I think it's service, right? How do you bring one degree extra of leadership into, maybe it's with your consumers or other agents around you? What's an extra degree of service, right? Really kind of white gloving the service that you provide to your consumers. And so thinking about that as that extra degree, and over time that compounds, right? And I think that's the concept. I think it plays well in our space alone. I
Mhm.
think it's something that you can relate to because it is that extra degree. So it's not just working harder. I think in a sales role such as real estate, maybe it's asking that extra question or extra two questions from your consumer to understand maybe their needs a little bit better than you would normally, right? So it's like little tweaks that you can make to get better over time.
Yeah. I just was coaching somebody right before our meeting, and we were talking about like working with luxury clients, and I'm like, this is somebody that you need to ask that couple extra questions, because they're the people that will, the same plane that gets you from point A to point B. You have the people that are sit in the first class, then you have the business class, the first, and then the extra leg room, and then the
Yep.
back. It gets you to the same place, but it's a different experience. So what is that person's experience needs to be? That, like you said, that extra level of service, that extra question can also
Yeah,
be the difference of getting a luxury listing versus not. You know what I mean? It seems so
absolutely.
simple, but it's the conversation that I just had that kind of made me think of it. And I'm like, I think I have that book. It's going to be over there in my bookcase. But when you said that, it's a
Yeah.
little hardback book, right? It's like a
Yeah,
little,
yeah. Yeah, if I didn't have my background up, you'd actually see it in my bookcase as well. And then, so every member of my team that joins my team, I buy the soft cover book, and I mail it out to them because one, I like to surround my team with certain traits. It's how I interview. And so, a lot of, like, if you're a broker or a team and you're recruiting, this is like one of the things that it taught too is like look for certain traits. Like what are you building your traits around? Do you have core values, and have you built out a mission statement, right? And so I think that the more I kind of teach this business planning course that I do, I find that a lot of teams and agents don't spend time creating core values or a mission statement. And so I say spend the time, do that. Then what you're going to have is you're going to take a step back and you're say, okay, these core values in this mission statement, I should go and recruit around these traits. And so that's what I do on my team. All of my hiring, all of my interviewing is around these traits of 212. And what I'm looking for is, can I bring people in that sometimes, if you look at your team, there's always strengths and weaknesses. And what I try to do is find the people that fill the gaps and the weaknesses with this 212 and the traits. And so again, it's been a great way for me to build teams at various companies I've been in the last 20 years in this space. It's also been a great tool as I go and educate teams and brokers on looking for different ways to recruit into them, but also agents, like what are ways that you can improve. Sometimes I say this all the time, but there's really no secret ingredient in real estate. It's
yeah,
kind of, we all know what to do, right?
right.
We all know what to do. It's, can you be disciplined enough to do it? And sometimes that's the extra degree. Can you hold yourself
That's
that
right.
accountable, that extra degree to do it? And I think that's a big impact that you can make to your business.
No, I mean, you're exactly right. People, not, with coaching, they're like, what do you need? It's like the accountability to
Yeah,
yourself. And sometimes they even have to hire somebody. It's like, the chances of you going and meeting that trainer in the morning, if you have the trainer waiting for you versus not, is a higher probability. And do you have to have that, or just how do you make yourself accountable? To your point, that could be
yeah,
it's the difference of success. It can be the difference of success, or not. So I
yeah,
have a couple questions, for
yeah,
you. And this one leads right into it. So, related to like the growth of agents, we already know there's a huge, whether it's 87% this year or 90% of,
yeah,
this year, that not all agents grow and succeed. So what do you see in all of your history and your current roles? What do you see as the number one thing, or feel free, it can be a couple, that
Yeah.
agents miss that keep their businesses from growing? And kind of in the contrast, and I can come back to this if we forget, what in the contrast, it kind of goes, what do you think is the differentiators for those that do succeed? And is
Okay.
it the same? So what do you see as the number one
Yeah.
things that agents miss? And what are the differentiators for those that do succeed?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it is one thing, although I think there's, at the end of the day, I think there's three things, but it's the one, like the first thing is such a big part of it. And I think, look, I think over 80% of agents fail hitting their goals, whether it's a transaction goal or GCI goal, because they're not generating enough leads, right?
Okay.
Like if you look at any data that came out from 2024, and I was at Inman in New York, and I thought one of the most interesting sessions was talking about the data, transaction data in 2024. 71% of agents had zero transactions in 2024,
That was
which
crazy. I heard that.
it's
Yeah.
it's crazy to think about, right? Now, again, the real estate industry is a little different, so not all licensed agents have transaction goals, but still,
Mhm.
it's a big number, big percentage that have zero, and I think it comes back to the other data point that came out of that was what are two of the biggest roadblocks that you faced as an agent? Number one was unpredictable income, obviously. Number two was hard to find customers. And I'm like, that can't be. Like we do not have a lead generation problem in this business. We generate over 6 million leads a year. And so this can't be the biggest problem, but every year it comes back to it is the number one reason why agents fail to hit their transaction or GCI goal. And so it's not that it's too hard. It's not that customers are too hard to find. I do think that it is because I don't understand what my magic number is. So I'll give you an example. I go and I do my business plan and I put down I'm going to do 20 transactions this year and I want a GCI of 200K. Great. Most agents though don't understand how many monthly leads I need each month to go hit that
What?
number. And
The
so what they
numbers,
do
right?
is they have the transaction, right? They have the transaction goal, and then they say, okay, then let me do lead generation. But they don't have a target because they don't understand the correlation between what is my target and what do I need to feed the target, right? What's that funnel need to look like? And I think that's why I think that's the number one reason most agents miss their goal. And it's one of the biggest challenges, obviously, as it came through in the data in 2024, when we think about that survey that went out. I think in kind of the second part of your question, what do some of these top agents like let's say the 30%, what do they do better? What do they do more of?
Yeah.
And I think it's in correlation to lead generation, but I think it's not just thinking of lead generation how we think of lead generation, which is how are new people finding you? I think these top 30%, what they're doing and what I see them doing a lot is yes, they have a predictable number of leads that they're generating, but they're also
Hmm.
doing a very good job at their contact database and really have a process around turning that more into a gold mine. So nothing goes unturned, right? And so they have a process. When I say a process, they have a process when it comes to lead generation. So this is how I'm going to be found. I have a process of how I'm going to follow up, right? Because look, half
Yep.
the leads, and this is a fact, 50% of the leads in this business are never called. And it blows my mind. Like we're in
If not
sales.
higher. I think it might be higher. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe higher, but I'm
Definitely.
like, think about that. Think about half the
Def-
leads never get called. And so I think what these top agents
Crazy.
and teams are doing is they'll build process around it. They know that you're not going to call your lead, so they're going to. You know what I mean? And so
Yep.
they're just saying like we're going to call every lead and we're going to do it within 5 minutes and we're going to follow up. And that's a process that we're going to build around. And look, like I said, there is no secrets in this business. But if you can do those things, if you can generate the right number of leads and have a follow-up process that you're following up with all your leads, you do more transactions. Like it's not rocket science, right? The numbers speak the volumes. And so I think it's really that. Now, to go a little deeper though, because there is always a deeper level,
That's right.
a lot of agents will go and generate leads and they'll fail, right? And so they'll say, okay, Jack, I'm going to go generate leads like you said, and they'll go generate these leads, but they'll fail. And because what they don't understand is that, yes, even though you need leads, I say you got to feed the beast, which is your pipeline, right? Your funnel. You got to feed the
Mhm.
beast. But what they don't understand is they don't understand how to get conversations out of that. Leads are great, but if you're not having conversations as a real estate agent,
Right.
your business isn't going to grow, right? And so I think these other top agents and teams, I think they're very good at creating conversations from their leads. They understand these consumer timelines. They understand that not every consumer that becomes a lead is ready to buy or sell right now. And what we're seeing across the industry is on average, an average consumer from the time they generate as a lead to the time they convert is somewhere between 24 and 28 months.
Right.
Well, that's a long time to nurture someone.
Hmm.
And so if you don't have a process on how to stay relevant with those consumers and how to have conversations with those consumers, then yeah, they are gonna go find someone else, right? The average consumer becomes a lead 8 to 10 times, and like we have no patience as consumers, right? We want a very personalized experience, and we want answers. And so if it takes you 8 hours to respond to a lead, you don't follow up, and the first thing you do when you follow up is you try to get the sale or try to close a sale or convert the lead. Guess what happens? I'm going to continue my search. And so I
That's
think
right.
that's so I think just generating leads doesn't solve that problem. I think having a solution that says I'm going to go generate leads and I'm going to build a process around having conversations to fuel, to me, that's really what you got to really focus on as an agent if you really want to grow your business.
Right. No, I love that. And, lesson learned from myself, and to your point, exactly why I built, my $1 million lead follow-up, system, because to your point, it's like the leads take a while and they're on a timeline, which is the
Yeah.
word that you used, and we follow up with leads based on time, and so that's so into my place. I'm like right there with you. We have to
Yeah.
meet them where they are. We hear that. But so many people, like, it's why people spend all the money on Zillow, like cherry pick it. But that gets
Yep.
expensive if you don't have a consistent pipeline,
Yep.
and the agents that are successful have a consistent pipeline, but they have a variety of new and long term. And to your point, 50% of the people don't follow up with a lead on call one. Then by the time you
Yep.
get to call 6, 7, 8, 9, you are like the only person in the gigantic field if you are
Yeah.
still calling with them, and that pick up the phone and get to know somebody, make an effort, you
Yeah,
know.
it makes a huge difference. Obviously I've been in this space a long time. I have a lot of clients all over the country, and I've had the luxury of just chatting with different agents across different markets. And I've heard, obviously if you're not new to this business, what you hear is, well, those type of leads suck, or I hate those leads, or those leads suck. Look, I always have the ability because I'm on the tech side, I can look up and say, okay, you're saying the leads suck. Well, let me go and look and see, like maybe, yeah, maybe we did send you bad leads. I don't know. But I'll look
Right.
up, and 9 times out of 10, what I find, Kim, is that there was no calls made. There's no
Hmm.
follow up. There's the leads. I can see the leads, but I can see, and I sometimes I see the leads that are asking questions to agents, and they're simply not answering or not
They don't
responding.
even
Well, of course,
respond. Wow.
yeah, of course the lead's gonna suck, right? They're not.
Right.
Look, if consumers wanted an agent, they'd pick up the phone and they wouldn't be online. They'd be looking at like phone books and calling agents. The truth is, like
Right.
most consumers start their search online because they can hide behind the wall of the internet.
That's right.
And like it or not, it's because they don't want to talk to us. And that's okay, right? I think it's okay to say they don't want to talk to us right now. At some point
That's
they
right.
will.
Right now.
And can I be at the right place at the right time? So when they do, they know my brand, they're familiar with it. And I think that has to become your goal when you're doing lead gen is eventually they're going to want to talk to me. They don't want to talk to me right now. So let me provide them as much relevant content as possible because if I don't, guess what? They're going to get it without me. They're going to go to Zillow and they're going to
Right.
meet
That's
five
right.
other agents, right? And that's no good for our business.
That's right. Yep. No, I love it. I love it. I'm taking notes over here. You probably can see my arm. You know what I mean? I
Yeah, yeah,
definitely love it because it's also true. And, definitely want to come back and visit some of those things that you mentioned.
yeah.
Maybe not today, but
No,
soon.
no,
So the second thing, so like with the process, we know that the company you're working for now, Inside Real Estate, and for those of you that don't know, the parent company, if you will, or whatever you want to say, their products kvCORE that's been upgraded, if you will, to Bold Trail.
Yeah.
So you want me to call it kvCORE Bold Trail moving forward? Which do you prefer?
Yeah, I mean, I think we still have some clients that are using kvCORE, and then we have some on Bold Trail. So right now, I still say kvCORE or Bold Trail.
Okay.
Eventually we'll be in a place where it's all Bold Trail.
Right. Okay. Got it. So I've been using it since 2018. So this old dog is phased into
Yeah.
the new tricks, but I'm going to call it kvCORE. How does that system fit into their business growth and planning? I mean, in my mind, obviously you need to have a database, but then the CRM takes it to the next level. So
Yeah.
how do you feel like this should or does fall into that?
Yeah, well, first I'll say, I get asked all the time, what's the best system in the space? And I will say
Right.
it's the system that you use. I think so many agents have tools that they don't use. And so, look, if there's a tool that you use and you're consistent at using it, then I think that's the best system because there's your comfort zone. As long as you're logging in every day and you're doing some activity in there to really, hone in the power of technology to have more conversations, right? Because that at the end of the day, like technology is not supposed to replace you, it's supposed to amplify you, right? So if you think
Right.
about
That's
how do I
right.
scale myself and have more conversations, that's really the power of the system. So I think kvCORE, Bold Trail, I think gives our clients the ability to scale their business at a much faster rate. Why? Because
Right.
it is truly a full end-to-end solution. So I think from a brokerage standpoint, if you think about leads coming in and even the transactions and then post transactions, kvCORE Bold Trail is that one solution. So I think for a lot of agents, what happens, and I think the pain point in this industry for many, many years, and again, I've been on this side of the fence for many years. I think one of the pain points is I have 15 different logins to run my business. Whether you're
Mm,
an agent, you're a team, or a broker, like think about that. I was at a client's office like 2 years ago, and I saw a big sticky note taped to his desk, and it had all these things. I said, "What is that?" Well, those are all the logins for all the different tools. I'm like,
wow.
man, that's a pain point, right? Like if
Right. A
especially if I'm
lot.
an individual agent and I have 10 different logins to kind of manage my business, at some point you have to feel like it's kind of all duct taped together and nothing's really speaking. It might look like it's integrated, but nothing's really speaking. You're doing some imports here and some exports here and importing here and leads. Nothing's really speaking. And so I think for kvCORE and Bold Trail, having all of that into one system, one login, where I can manage a lead from the time I get the lead from someone that does not know me to the
Right.
time that they transact, and I get another transaction 5 years later, and it's
Right.
all
The
connected
repeat.
in the same system. That is something we haven't seen in this business, right? Like if you think about repeat clients, so we all know the stat, right? 93% of consumers said they would use the agent again, only 15% do. You want to know why? Is because after transaction, we don't have the systems
Right.
in place to talk to them anymore. We kind of just like, oh, okay, that's a transaction. I'm going to keep them over here. And I think what we've really focused on bringing everything together is no, it shouldn't stop,
Hmm.
right? That consumer is still now just on another journey, on a homeowner journey, but they're going to be a lead again.
Hmm.
And the more we can give you the tools to talk to them and continue that conversation and let that process just play out where you're the expert and we're constantly putting you in front of relevant content to deliver to your clients, then your repeat business should go up. Your referrals should go up, right? And I think that's what we have not seen in this space. We have not seen tech that kind of says, from lead to close and repeat. It's all connected. And I think that's where we really focused in the last couple of years. And to be honest, that's why it was time for us to kind of say, kvCORE has been great. We do need to move to Bold Trail because the idea of Bold Trail is taking all of that and bringing it together into one, right?
Right.
Prior to that, kvCORE kind of had all these solutions, but they were kind of like not all connected. And so Bold Trail is an opportunity for us to say, like, again, it is a bold trail because it has not been done before. Can we bring all these things together in a seamless integration solution that agents can have one login and manage their entire business from lead to repeat?
Okay. All right. No, I like that, and when I explain to people like what's the difference, I'm like kvCORE is the base, but they had these different things over here and now it's in one place, and the
Yeah,
whole
a lot
end
of
to end.
acquisitions, right? Like we purchased a lot of different companies and a lot of solutions, and it's hard to bring those into one place and integrate those into one place. And so Bold Trail was the opportunity for us to do that. And to be honest, we also took that opportunity to say, hey, there's some, we've heard that a lot, that kvCORE isn't the easiest to use. Like it's very robust, right? And
That's
then
right.
there's a lot to it. And so we took some opportunities with Bold Trail to make it a bit user friendly. And so that is what we're seeing, and that's what we're hearing, is that Bold Trail does have a little bit more user friendly, even same robust. There's a lot to it, but at least we've tried to simplify it for depending on where you are in your business. We're trying to simplify that more and trying to speak to you instead of trying to speak at everybody like this. Try to understand more of our clients and where they are in the journey and have Bold Trail kind of speak to them in that journey.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that definitely, when I talk to people, I'm like, the more powerful the system, the more complicated it can
Yeah,
feel. And for me, feedback, it's like they have all these things, but here's the core things that you really want to master,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
having the website integrated in versus some of the competitors, we have to buy something, or to your point, you've built a WordPress site, or you've paid thousands of dollars, or you did it yourself and it's very basic. If you don't have the blog and the SEO tools, you're buying
yep,
leads forever versus organic. So you guys really have these other things that I think are often overlooked that are really core into understanding that. And I feel like once also the knowledge of being an entrepreneur and understanding the value of the system that you have in front of you is really also important, versus just a couple of things. It really can expand the life of your business if you know how to use it to that next
yeah.
level.
Having
So,
having
uh,
like as your business grows and having a system that grows with you, I think is super important, right? Because I think where we were, like I'll just say 10 years ago, where we were in this space was, if I'm a new agent, I go buy this system, 3 or 4 years, I'm not that new agent anymore. My production has gone up. A lot of times we had to go and switch systems because that system was really didn't support higher volume. I think that's where we
right,
were 10 years ago in this space, right? And so as an agent, I constantly had to jump ship and constantly had to try something new. We really haven't had a system that really grows with you. So no
mhm,
matter where you are in your journey, where your production is, new agent, veteran agent, 20 transactions, 40 transactions, having a system that kind of can grow and scale with you, that's something we haven't seen a lot of. I know it started to exist like 5 years ago, and I think we're going more down that path. But it is kind of nice for the end user, the agent, right, or the team or the broker. As they grow, they don't have to look at other solutions, right? They can stick
right.
with the solution, and it should grow with you. I think that's very
That's right.
important.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And for anybody that's listening, things, like when it comes to lead routing and being able to rotate leads and put them, when you start growing a team, I've been using the team platform since 2018 when it was new, and,
Yep.
and being able to have that model and grow, if, is really nice. And then you're adding those features, which is quite helpful when you grow your
Yeah.
business and you start adding people and ISAs and multiple websites and all of that. So moving forward into
Yeah.
2025, and if anybody's listening to this in 2026 and beyond, it quite well could be the same answers. But what do you think are like, three or four, core areas of focus that like every agent needs, no matter maybe if you're new or if you've, for me, 20 years, I'm like, no, don't call me old, but 20 years in this business, and I have my other career before that. But that being said, I find that sometimes they change and sometimes they're the same. So what are the 3 to 4
Yeah.
core areas that you think agents need to focus on?
Yeah, I'm pretty bullish on three.
Okay.
Could I get to four? Maybe. I'm pretty bullish on three though,
All
and
right.
I'll say them and then I can kind of explain more. So
Okay.
it's be found, be
Okay.
connected, and be involved.
All right. Be
So I'll
found, be
explain those,
connected, and
but
be
be
involved.
found,
Okay.
right? Be found, be connected, be involved. And so as every agent writes their business plan and hopefully you tweak that throughout the year, right? You make adjustments throughout the year. Some of you do a mid-year business plan, which I think is great. How I teach my business planning with agents and some of our clients is centered around these three things: be found, be connected, be involved. And so I'll kind of break those down. Be found is, how are you being found? How are people finding you? How are people finding your store? So I refer to an agent's website as a store. And so think about, Kim, if you and I owned a coffee store, what's the one thing that we would constantly be thinking about before we open the doors? Location, 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 right?
Right.
Location matters. And I think for an agent, you have that. You have a website. It's a store. You have aisles and aisles of content, right? What's the number one reason why consumers jump online is to look at pictures and details of homes. You have that. You have this real estate content. Now what you have to decide is how are people finding it? How am I driving people there? How am I being found? How am I being found by people that don't know me in my local market today? And I
Hmm.
think that's super. So this ties back to lead generation, right? And the reason why I hit on this number one is because what I have found over the years, agents that generate 40 or more new leads a month do 9 times more transactions than agents that generate 10 or less leads a month.
Wow. So
So that's
40,
what the data shows.
okay, 40 leads per month
Yep. Agents that
does
generate 40 or more new leads a month compared to agents that generate 10 or less leads a month do 9 times more transactions, right?
nice.
So
Yep.
really think about that as your driver. You have to have strategy around how you're being found today, right? This could, and again, there's tons of people that don't know you in your local market, but think about all the people that are moving to your local market, definitely don't know you. How are you being found? How are they going to find you, right? If they Google you, do they find you? Are they finding you on social, right? And you kind of mentioned, is it organic? Do you have to pay for that? Is it a combo of that? But what you need to figure out is what am I doing to drive people to my store? Super
Right.
important, right? And I think that's the big a big driver. The next piece is really being connected. And that is how are you turning leads into conversations, right?
Yep.
So how are you being connected? One can generate leads. Now, I don't think generating leads in this business is difficult. I think what's difficult is turning those into conversations. Do you know how to do that? Do you have a process? Right? I ask agents all the time, what's your number one goal? If you generated a lead right now, what's your number one goal? And they always say things like convert the lead, get an appointment, build a relationship. And they start listing all these things, and they're not wrong. I just think these are end results. Like that's
Yep.
like going on a date. If you and I went on a date and our first date and I asked you to marry me, Kim, that's probably not going to go very well, right? Like
Whoa.
date one, yeah, date one comes off very strong. And I think it's the same thing. So your goal, that's an end result. What do you have to do in order to get there? I think you have to stop the search. And what do I mean by that is consumers become a lead 8 to 10 times. If you can't stop their search, they are going to go meet other agents, right? If you can't get them
Right.
off Zillow,
Okay.
they're going to go
Yep.
back to Zillow. And then how many agents are they meeting? So I really feel like if you want to get connected, you have to stop their search. The only way to do that is get them back to your store. So even if you use the portals like Zillow to generate leads, how can you get them from Zillow to your store?
Right. I got
Because
you.
every
So
time
they're
they go
not.
back to Zillow, they meet other agents. On your store, they're only seeing you, right? And so that's like step one of really, to me, step one of getting a conversation is making sure that they're coming back to my site. Maybe they don't even want to talk to me, but as long as I can see them coming back weekly or daily or even monthly and looking at listings, then I know they're engaged and they're looking at my brand. And so where I get this from, the data I get this from is that agents, so I kind of look at two buckets of agents: agents that use automation versus agents that don't use automation. Agents that have their contact database 50% or greater on automation versus those agents that don't do 5 times more transactions.
5 times
And
more
that
transactions with automation.
automations, again, no matter what system you're using, but definitely if you're using Bull Trail or kvCORE, one of your goals should be getting all of your contacts on automation. And what am I saying by automation? I'm saying search alerts, market reports, right? Things that the system has, things that the system will automatically help drive consumers back to your website so you don't have to. Super important. And if you can do that, what the system is doing is the system is helping you stop the search. The system is helping you from those people going to a Zillow or a homes.com somewhere. And again, nothing against those companies. It's just that
No.
they don't have your best
Great lead
interest though.
generation. Right.
Yeah,
That's right.
your best interest is getting them on your store. So that's kind of where I see that be connected, right? Using automation, driving them back to your store. The last piece is be involved. And I kind of alluded to this when we were talking earlier is the average consumer timeline is 24 to 28 months. That is not natural to nurture someone for that long. Like no one in sales, I don't care what industry, no one in sales says, "Oh yeah, I'd love to do that. I'd love to nurture for 28 months." Like, who wants to do that? Sounds horrible, right?
Federal contractors, that's about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's kind of it.
but they don't even like it. They do it because they
They
have to.
don't
They
like
don't like
it.
it, right? It's not natural. So no one likes to do it. And
It's
so
exhausting.
I think really is like, how are you staying relevant? It's really not how are you staying involved, but how are you staying relevant with these consumers? So you meet
Hmm.
them in phase one, which is like they're doing this pre-research, and you want them in phase three, which is the buying and selling process. How are you staying relevant in between? How are you helping influence and educate them along this timeline, right? And so really, I think it's these automated campaigns, right? Automated
Hmm.
campaigns, and it's a mix of automated campaigns, but it's also knowing when to do an automated campaign and when to personalize a campaign. And that will
Yep.
be dependent on how active they are, behavior triggers, how often they're on your website, what are they looking at on your website, right? Because if you're doing a good job at driving them back to your store, then your system is going to tee up and say, wow, Kim's back on the website and she looked at 4 more listings in their 4 bedroom
Hmm.
home. It's giving me relevant content that I can now say, wow, she's been on now a lot. Let me go personalize an email instead of having her on this campaign, right?
Right. Make an
So
effort.
really where I get this data is agents that utilize automated campaigns. So again, looking at a contact database and saying 50% of your contacts on a on an automatic campaign versus those that aren't will do 3 times more transactions, right? So if you have agents and teams that utilize automated campaigns versus agents that don't, so like less than 10% of their contact database is on campaigns, the agents that have the majority or 50% or more will do 3 times more transactions. And the reason why is because they're always at the right place at the right time.
Yep.
They're always scaling their conversations, and these automated campaigns are also helping you drive people back to your website, right? And putting you in front of relevant content and striking up conversations. So for me, like those are the three big things that if I wanted to focus and get growth, whether it was 10% growth, 20% growth, those are the areas that I go a little deeper, right? And so where am I weak? Where am I strong? Maybe I'm strong at lead generation, but I'm really not good at the follow-up process. Okay, let me go deeper there. Let me get that 1 degree better in the lead follow-up or the lead conversion process versus the lead generation process, right? But to me, those are the big things that if you want to focus on, just get hyper focused on 3 things, because that's the other thing about this business is there's a lot of distractions and you can focus on a million different things. And I
That's
think if
right.
you can get hyper focused on these three things will move the needle in your business the biggest.
No, I completely agree. We're so on the same page, and I'm glad that you brought those facts because
Yeah,
and this is this is about you, this is about us, and this I have to reiterate the deep importance if you have the right automation for that scale that you mentioned,
yeah,
that leverage that you mentioned, because but I didn't have those numbers. I do
yeah,
know that people that I've worked with on my automation, they're like, I've increased my business by 20% in 6 months by moving the leads from the new category, in your system and actually moving them into specific, consistent automation. And 20% for any business is a lot, you know what I mean? And
yeah. It's huge.
in that story's case, it's 800,000 a year. That's a
Yeah,
team. But it's
yeah,
like, hey, whether you're new, you understand that this is great information. This is the way to go,
yeah.
And so, kind of to wrap it up, anything you want to leave people with that maybe, kvCORE being an end-to-end solution, how would they get a hold of you? Like anything that you want to leave as far as next steps or just
Yeah, I
share.
mean, I think if I guess if you're on or you're using kvCORE or Bold Trail, happy to connect. You can find me on LinkedIn, but happy to connect and talk more strategy. We do have, I do a lot of sessions at Inside Real Estate and just trying to, I don't know, coach clients on. Look, my whole goal and really owning strategic growth at Inside Real Estate is not necessarily company growth, although that's a part of what I do and that's initiatives I take on. But I'm also responsible for our client growth. I'm also responsible for our engagement and adoption on certain tools. And so for me, how I measure that is, are we making clients better?
Right.
Are we growing our clients' business? Meaning, I'm not using kvCORE, but I am going to use kvCORE, and I can see a 10% increase or 5% increase, even a 1% increase. Like that's our job at the end of the day is to increase our client's business. And so we're going to do that in a variety of ways, right? There's a lot of different products that you can bolt on to kvCORE and Bold Trail that we offer from a marketing suite. So like if you are lacking lead generation, there's a ton of products to go and check out that are provided by us that are integrated into kvCORE and Bold Trail that's in your ecosystem. But there's a lot of different ways to do that, right? And every agent runs their business a little different, and their needs are very different when it comes to that. So happy to have those discussions with everybody that is already using kvCORE Bold Trail. If you're not using kvCORE Bold Trail and you're interested in kvCORE Bold Trail, I definitely think the best thing to do is probably go to the website because you can get a lot of information inside realestate.com, and you can look up a lot of different products that we own and really get connected to a consultant to kind of walk you through and say, look, is this the right fit for my business or not? Right.
Right.
I don't
That's right.
necessarily think it's a fit for everybody. But I think kind of understanding where you are. And I think the biggest thing I'll require from you, understand what you want your business to look like in the next 18 to 24 months. That's a big one for me. If you have not visioned that out or have not planned that out, what you really want your business to look like, so here's where you are today and here's where you want it 24 months from now, it's going to be hard for us to kind of say, okay, well, here's what you should do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think like spend some time and kind of understand what type of business are you trying to build, whether you're a team, broker, or an agent, what type of business are you really trying to build? Okay, now we can put kind of a roadmap in front of you and say, okay, here's what it could look like then, and here's the roadmap. Here's how you could get there. I think
That's
those
right.
conversations are a lot more fun to have.
Yep. Good. And I know I've come in with you guys, partnering up on the peer coaching. So you guys
Yeah,
do have peer coaching, and we'll leave some
we do.
links there. We'll leave
Yeah,
some links to the kvCORE to really, my mission is to increase agent success using proven systems and strategies. I've been
yeah,
using your product. I went from Boomtown to building my own to kvCORE, and I've landed my feet here because of that end to end and the ability to grow or create follow-up systems and create the automation,
yeah,
which, just comparing a lot of platforms, there's a lot of tools that have come along, but I feel like this is the strongest, like you said, to help an agent scale and grow. So great. Well, I'm glad that you're here today and you've shared a lot of great things. I took like a whole page of notes. I love the stats. I think the stats, the data, like you said, it is what it is. So like hear it, know it, and to hear, the impact of automation, to hear, how do you get to be one of the 30% that pushes through and makes sales if you actually want to make sales. Not everybody does, maybe they're an
and yeah,
investor, right? They have a
yeah,
license and
exactly. Or maybe yeah, or maybe you're in a market where 10 transactions, great. Um, I still think I again, I'll go back to one of the biggest roadblocks agents saw in 2024 was unpredictable income. And so
mhm,
even if that transaction goal is 10 transactions, how do you continue to build a business that every year you can just count on those 10
right,
transactions, right?
right.
You have to build that out and it has to be scalable and that is the processes. That's why I believe so much in the coaching like that you do, right? I think having the tools is one thing, having the coach on the other hand, right? Like you said, the gym. A lot of people go to the gym, Kim, and they fail around for 30 minutes before they even touch a machine and work out because they don't
Yep,
know where to start and they don't know what to do. And so they kind of do it, half-assed a little bit and jump in. I think having a coach and having someone that holds you accountable and kind of shows you, okay, here are the three things to go focus on today. That's why it works in our business. And that's why the
that's right.
result, you combine that with the system and technology. That's why you see the results you do in some of the 30%. It's not that they have this magic solution and they're out there doing it on their own. A lot of times that 30%, they're connected to coaches.
That's
They're
right.
connected to mentors and they're holding themselves accountable, right? And so I think that's a big step for a lot of people is put the tools, get where you can, and then partner up with a coach, right? Because that is going to really impact your business to that next level.
Yeah. I mean, every truly get to the next success to me, needs I walk the walk. 8 months into real estate, I hired my new coach. I'm like, I know how to run a business, but I still need this and that. And then,
Yeah.
even now, I'm like, hey, even I still need a coach to push me. And so good. Well, it's great having you here. Jack, I look forward to staying connected. I know we
Yeah.
will. And thanks for everybody for joining us today. We had a lot of great in-depth conversation, a lot of great nuggets, and then huge concepts that every agent at every level needs to hear. So I'm glad that you're here with us here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's fun.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else listening? I hope you tune in to the next one where like I said, my goal is to increase your success using proven systems and strategies from the very beginning of your career all the way to the end. All right. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.